This isn't your typical away mission. We've got first look images, creepy previews and big theories because Strange New Worlds is going full zombie horror in Shuttle to Kenfori. Well, hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome back to Sci-Finatics. Well, today we're talking about episode 3 of season 3 of Star Trek Strange New Worlds entitled Shuttle to Kenfori. This is going to be our horror episode of Strange New Worlds for this season. Like Star Trek meets The Walking Dead. It's going to be a bit of a zombie horror episode, and we've got some images to look at today, a bit of video from the episode, and I've got some theories as to the title as well, some secrets there to unpack as well. So let's get into that. For starters, I don't think it's any coincidence that this episode is called Shuttle to Kenfori. Even though it's spelled slightly differently, the actor Kenfori is very well known for being the lead in a lot of zombie horror movies in the 80s and 90s and so forth. Kenfori is best known for his roles in several horror films, most notably Peter Washington in George A. Romero's Dawn of the Dead. He also appeared in Leatherface, The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, The Devil's Rejects, Halloween 2007, and is pretty well known for appearing in a lot of different horror genre movies or whatever over the years. So to say this episode is called Shuttle to Kenfori, it's a pretty big tip of the hat to this classic horror movie actor. In fact, I even wonder whether Kenfori might even be guest starring as one of our zombified Klingons in this episode. He would certainly fit the bill physically to take on such a role, so I'd be interested to see if he does actually pop up in this episode. Let's take a look at some of the promotional photos that have just been released to showcase this episode, to see what they have to offer. Now, for starters, I'm going to theorise that, as I predicted in a previous review, I don't think Marie Battelle is quite out of the woods yet when it comes to curing her Gorn egg infestation problem. We have a photo here of Pike and Battelle in the sickbay looking somewhat concerned. Battelle's sitting in one of the examination chairs in sickbay. We've got Pike holding her hand, and they've both got quite worried looks on their faces. I would almost theorise that this concern is related to her Gorn egg infestation issue, which in previous episodes they've kind of implied that they'd cured. I think it would be somewhat unlikely for everything to go swimmingly and completely smoothly and there to be no repercussions from this event, despite a lot of things being wrapped up very conveniently in that first episode of the season. We see a shot here also of Chapel also looking quite concerned in sickbay. So I think the fact that we have Battelle and Pike looking concerned, Chapel's looking concerned, implies that there's some issues they need to sort out here with Battelle's health. We also have a shot of Spock in this science lab here in like a hazmat suit, examining something that looks kind of alien-esque on the table here. We've got pictures in the background on the computer screen that show kind of scans of this thing. So whether this is kind of something to do with finding a cure for either Battelle's condition or for the Klingon zombified people down on the planet remains to be seen, but I'm guessing one of those. Now, the other part of this episode appears to be Mbenga and Pike on an away mission to, I'm guessing, a planet called Kenfori. Whatever is going on this planet, we've got Klingon battle cruisers, we've got, mines and beacons and so forth, or whatever it is here, in orbit of the planet, maybe implying that there's something, an issue with this planet. Maybe it's a quarantine zone due to the infectious nature of whatever's going on down on the surface. And we can see that Mbenga and Pike obviously land on the surface of this planet in a shuttle, but it would seem that the shuttle is quickly destroyed by attacking Klingon forces. The atmosphere on this planet is very moody. We've got Pike looking around the place with the flashlight, discovering what's going on. Both Mbenga and Pike are kind of in civilian attire, so they're not in away mission uniforms. So that would imply that whatever they're doing on this planet is a little bit covert. They don't want to be sort of known as a Starfleet presence, because otherwise they would have either their regular Starfleet uniforms on, or they would have their combat armor away team uniforms on. So the fact that they're kind of just wearing sort of civilian attire, to me, implies that they're not probably meant to be on this planet, and they're meant to be being a bit covert and not official Starfleet presence, although they are flying an official Starfleet shuttlecraft. So that kind of maybe, is a potential issue with that situation. Got a shot here of Mbenga and Pike again with their flashlights, looking around, trying to find out what's going on clearly on this planet, because from everything we've seen in previous trailers and images and so forth, it seems like we've got some sort of pandemic that has swept the planet surface and turned all of our Klingons into kind of zombie Klingons, which I think is an interesting prospect, because zombies at the best of times can be pretty scary, but let's face it, I think Klingon zombies are going to be even scarier. area. It looks like Kenfori is a bit of a jungle planet. Obviously a few shots here with Pike and Mbenga in their civilian attire in a very jungle-like environment. Mbenga with a tricorder, and them both looking quite concerned and worried about the predicament they happen to be in. I guess being hunted and attacked by a bunch of Klingon zombies is probably reason behind that. In this shot we see like a Klingon shuttlecraft landing on the planet in front of Pike, and a Klingon with a big chain whip in this episode. We've seen Ferengi with weird whips or whatever back in Next Generation or whatever in that first season episode, but not sure we have seen Klingons with a whip. This whip looks like it's almost like a spinal column or something. It's kind of got links in a chain, and we've got this Klingon here with a very bad zombie kind of complexion going on here, roaring, not looking particularly happy about his health situation perhaps. And here we've got Mbenga bursting out of a door, being pursued by a zombie here in the background. This zombie almost, I thought looks a bit like Neelix. there's something a bit Neelix looking about this zombie chasing Mbenga. Am I saying Neelix looks like a zombie? No, but there's also, maybe it's his costume, something about it looks, just a little bit Neelix-esque. Pike with a phaser here, aiming to fire, no doubt at a bunch of attacking Klingon zombies, and Pike being shocked by a bit of a jump scare here from a Klingon zombie jumping out next to a window and giving him a bit of a shock. So no doubt this episode is going to be filled with your typical zombie horror movie kind of tropes, I'm guessing. There's always a bit of genre bending going on in Strange New Worlds. Obviously, we had our action episode in episode 1, we've got our quirky episode, episode 2, and now we've got a bit of a horror episode in episode 3. So there's always a lot of different genres attacked in this show, which kind of is good because it adds for variety in the episodes. In this shot, we've got Mbenga and Pike taking cover inside a building as they're pursued by a bunch of Klingon zombies and an explosion going off in the doorway. In another promotional photo, kind of to showcase some imagery from the remainder of season 3, we also see this shot here, which shows another Klingon zombie up in this frame here of this promotional image here for the episode. I think all in all, this looks like it's probably going to be an exciting episode. I think there was probably a few people, probably more than I anticipated, who maybe weren't all that happy about the quirky episode that we got last week in the form of episode 2. So maybe those people who don't like the quirky episodes and the comedy episodes will enjoy this episode a little more, leading into the zombie horror genre for this show. So what do you guys think? Are you looking forward to this zombie horror episode of Strange New Worlds? Leave your thoughts in the comments section and we'll get chatting about that. If you haven't subscribed to Sci-Finatics yet, be sure to do so. Click on that big subscribe button to stay up to date with all the latest Star Trek news on YouTube. And be sure to check out my merch in the merch store. Plenty of cool t-shirts and hoodies and mugs and caps and everything to check out. Great designs and always at very good prices, which really helps support the channel. I'll be back very soon with my review for Shuttle to Kenfori, episode 3 of Strange New Worlds. I'll see you then.